All right, everybody. So, as many of you guys might know, I oftentimes get into these stun locks talking about science, just random science stuff. And the reason for that is one of my favorite pastimes is getting really stoned and watching science videos on YouTube. One of my favorite pastimes. I really enjoy it. And one of my favorite science channels in question is called Physics Girl. Basically, it's this woman who does really good, entertaining science videos. In fact, if you guys remember, I showed off Parabolic Flight to you guys, where they get you into a plane that's, like, padded, and you're, like, in sort of like, the cylinder area. There's no seats or anything, it's all open, and they fly in a bunch of parabolas, and, you know, you experience zero-G. Very good channel. One of my favorites, right? Well, a while ago, she came down with COVID. She got infected with COVID. She was vaccinated and everything, but she still got infected. Happened to me, too. I was fully vaxxed and everything, and I still got infected. It happens, you know? When you do a lot of traveling, you come across a lot of people, and you come into contact with a lot of stuff, it's likely to happen. Now, thankfully, I was able to get over my COVID, and haven't really had too many negative long-lasting symptoms. It's been over a month now, and pretty much all I have left is the occasional, like, brain fog. I run out of breath fairly quickly, occasionally, depending on, like, the situation. If it's really hot, particularly, I'll run out of breath really fast. And sometimes I get lightheaded and get a little bit of brain fog, but that's slowly waning off as like, months go by, weeks go by after, you know, recovering from COVID. However, there is something called long COVID. You may have heard of it, but it's not really something that gets a lot of attention, especially not lately. And in most cases, long COVID isn't necessarily super severe as well. So when people do have it, they're typically looked at as like, oh, you're just trying to get attention, right? Like, oh, you got better a while ago. Stop complaining. But depending on who it happens to, long COVID can be really, really scary. And with all that said, unfortunately, that is what happened to Physics Girl, and it has been bad. This video came out 3 weeks ago. I didn't even know it existed until recently, but we're going to be watching it. It's called An Update on Diana's Health. Diana is the person behind the channel Physics Girl, and this video has 3.5 million views. It came out on March 6th. I'm sorry that I'm so late to it, but holy shit. I figured since I've had COVID, and I know what, like, I had very, very bad COVID, like, there was a couple nights where it was like, should we go to the hospital? Should we go to the hospital? It's really hard to breathe. Maybe... You know, what's the oxygen pulsometer thing say, or whatever it's called? Like, and we put the thing on our finger to check, like, are we good? Are we good? Because it's really hard to breathe. And it was painful and everything. So, yeah, like the little the O2 reader thing you put on your finger, right? We had those. And then eventually we got these watches that would just read it nonstop, so I could always look down and see what my thing was. They're tight watches, like they're really tight on you, but it's really cool. Anyway, it was rough. Like the COVID that I had and the COVID that my mom got, which we got at the same time, it was pretty severe. We didn't end up having to go to the hospital, but as far as symptoms go, pretty fucking severe. There were the first 2 or 3 nights I had it were so bad. It was like I don't know. Like, I just wanted to, like, go into a coma until it was over. Like, it was unbearable. There's really no other way to put it other than it was unbearable. So, long COVID is just terrifying, you know? Anyway, we're gonna start the video now. Let's, oh wait, I should pause the music very quickly. We're gonna start the video now, and, I'm gonna see if I can add, some of my experience having COVID, to sort of this experience that she's having, you know, like, if I can sort of elucidate some of the horrors that you experience when you're dealing with the symptoms that come with this disease.
Hi.
Oh, this is Simone Gertz, by the way.
It's not Diana.
Different YouTuber.
Obviously. My name is Simone. Diana is one of my best friends, and people often get the two of us mixed up, so maybe that's something. As you might know, last year Diana got COVID, and over the last couple of months, she's slowly gotten worse to the point where her condition has become potentially life-threatening.
So, how scary is that you can get COVID, recover from it, and then you feel better for a little while, and then over the course of months, your health starts deteriorating and getting worse and worse and worse to the point where it might be life-threatening. That is a real possibility for COVID patients. Fully vaxxed and everything. It's easy to just sort of like believe that getting vaxxed and wearing a mask and doing all of the things you're supposed to do to keep yourself from getting infected is going to, work, and you're not going to get sick and you're not going to have to worry about any of this. But you have to remember there are a whole lot of people out there that have made it a political point to be as cruel as possible, to disregard the lives as many people as possible. The right have ensured that this virus will continue to ravage America, making cycles through it, mutating and having new variants cycling through America for probably decades. COVID's probably not going anywhere in America for a long time. And it's going to be the conservatives that are responsible for it. Countries that actually did the lockdowns and didn't have anybody in power fighting against the science, they aren't dealing with COVID right now. How many cases did, compared to America, or just period, how many cases did New Zealand have? Like, they had 3 cases, went on full lockdown, and now they have, like, no deaths, and, like, maybe 2 deaths in, like, less than 100 cases or something. Like, if they actually took this seriously, so many people wouldn't have died. So many people wouldn't have effectively lost their lives to the debilitating symptoms that stick around, Like, I still feel garbage. I still feel like garbage to some degree since I had COVID. It's not like getting sick and then you recover and you're normal. It's you get sick and then being sick beats the absolute fucking shit out of your body. And then once you fight it off, your body has to heal from the damage that being sick did. Like, COVID actively, like, damages your body when it's inside of you. Like, in some ways, irreparably. There are some ways COVID affects you if you've been infected that are irreparably damaging to your circulatory system, to your cells, to your heart, to muscular tissue. It's scary. It may not be an insane, like, super noticeable amount of damage. It's going to cause you problems, but for a lot of people, it is, and you're about to see how bad it can get. She had just gotten married, I think, yeah.
Hold on. Hey, I'm Diana, and you're watching Physics Girl. What do I do with my hands? My head is not...
This is the parabolic flight video I was talking about. I think we're seeing clips of, like, instances where, like, after she had COVID, you could see, like, the effects of long COVID kind of, worsening. The brain fog, loss of, like, motor skills. Something that was really bad when I had COVID was if I, say, for example, went to pick up my vape and then, like, bring it up to my mouth, there were probably hundreds of times when I had COVID when I went to pick up my vape and put it towards my mouth, and, like, my fingers would just loosen for no reason. My fingers would just loosen and my vape would just go flying in the direction that I was moving my hand in. Demon Mama has long COVID? That's fucking awful. Ugh. Yeah, it ruins your motor functions too. You start bumping into things like crazy. Oh my God. When I had COVID, I bumped into everything. If I could stub my toe on something, I stubbed it. If I could whack my elbow into something, I whacked it. If I could bash my shoulder into something, I bashed it. Everything was bumping into everything. And with how tender everything feels when you have COVID, it's a nightmare. But you can't, like, your spatial awareness is gone, You're just bumping into things nonstop when you have COVID.
Make a quick.
Same, and I already had poor spatial awareness to begin with. That definitely won't help, getting COVID and having poor spatial awareness. Can you imagine, like, your life? Like, her life, like, she's just gotten married, big YouTube channel that's popping off and, you know, getting lots of views. She's making a lot of money, I have no doubt. And she's, like, she was probably planning on, like, houses to buy or, like, future houses to buy. Like, your life just gets stopped dead in its tracks by this kind of thing. It's so scary.
Emergency? What is your emergency?
My wife needs to go to the emergency room.
She's in bed with her mom. Like, as an adult, you know you gotta be pretty fucking sick to be like, Mom, I need you next to me. That's how sick I am. Like, as an adult, you gotta be pretty fucking sick to be that, like, I need my mom with me right now. Like, it's because it's scary, too. The thing, like, I imagine there's hypers in chat if you've never had COVID. And you haven't really, like, been in close proximity to COVID. Because that's who I'm mostly speaking to right now with this video. I guess maybe for those who have had it, this is just going to be a cathartic rant. Fair amount of you haven't had it. Fair amount of you haven't really been in close contact or proximity with it. That's good to see. I'm glad. One of the things that is easy to assume about COVID if you've never had it is that it's like a normal cold. You were vaping with COVID? Not my weed vape because it would make me cough too much, but my nicotine vape, yes, because I couldn't go into withdrawals. Though I did not hit it anywhere near as much as I normally did. I was hitting it like absurdly few, like maybe 10% as much as I normally do. Just because I was focused on trying to breathe oxygen. But yeah, like it's easy to assume that having this disease is like a really bad cold. Like, you're just sitting there, bundled up, waiting for it to blow over, eating hot soup. Like, yeah, you feel like garbage, but, you know, you're still just waiting for it to blow over. That's not what it's really like. It comes in waves, so you can never, like, unlike a normal cold where it's like, oh, okay, I can start to feel I'm getting better now. I've passed the climax of the symptoms. I'm on the way to recovery. Unlike, like, COVID tricks you. It, like, dangles feeling like you're better again in front of your face for, like, an afternoon, and then nighttime comes, and it's like, oh, get back in front of the space heater, motherfucker. It's time for another fever. It's time for another fever, motherfucker. Draw yourself an ice cold shower. Time to break a fever, bitch. Like, that is what COVID does to you, all right? It's like, oh, you thought you could keep this meal down? You're feeling better and you think you can keep down that big meal that you just ate? Oh no. You got another thing coming. You fucking thought. That is what COVID is, all right? You aren't really able to, like, know when you're starting to feel better, for starters. So it's not like you're writing it out and you can kind of feel its ending. And on top of that, it's scary. It's not like this, oh, I'm just sitting back and taking it easy while I wait to get better. You're genuinely worried. Like, it's so hard for me to breathe. I'm scared to sleep. That was me for multiple nights of having COVID. It's so hard to breathe. I'm scared to sleep because I think I need to be awake to exert the strength I need to push the air through my lungs and out of my mouth. And I ended up having to, like, I had to sleep sitting up and on my side because it also gives you insane acid reflux. Like, nothing you can do is comfortable. Your bones hurt, your muscles hurt, your head hurts, so you can't hold a conversation. It's just a complete nightmare.
Diana's health has spiraled down to the point where she can barely move. Like, she can't feed herself. And in the past week, she has...
I want to let you guys all know, this is a YouTuber who's a scientist, who is fully vaccinated, wears masks, and does all the things to keep from, spreading COVID or getting COVID, and this is what's happened to her. I want to be very, very, very clear here. The anti-vaxxer, anti-science, like anti-CDC Republicans and conservative voters in this country are responsible for all the lives that have been lost and the quality of life taken away from all of the people who've been infected with COVID in this country. If it weren't for them, there would not have been a 9/11's worth of people dying every day during the COVID's peak. Every single one of these deaths is on them. Those conservatives are responsible for these deaths and these people who've had their lives ruined to this extent by COVID. They are responsible for it. I consider it domestic terrorism. There's a reason why I don't regard any of the conservative pundits with even the slightest bit of human empathy. They're not people. They know they're evil, and they're proud of it. They're doing it all to support their bottom dollar, and they're convincing hordes of people to believe what they believe, and it's evil. It's evil. Their actions are directly leading to countless deaths. The same with school shootings and mass shootings as a whole. The same goes with, obviously, COVID. The same goes with the deaths of trans kids all around the country that they are actively striving for by barring them off from having any access to gender-affirming care. They do nothing but fight to maximize death. That's all they do. Conservatives do nothing but fight to maximize death. And then they have the nerve, because this is what evil people do, they have the nerve to look you dead in the eye and say, we're pro-life. With their evil DreamWorks smiles they put on. They're not people. They're demons.
Been to the ER twice. Diana has long COVID, and that has triggered something called MECFS. It's
just know it doesn't matter how hard you work to keep away from COVID, how much you use hand sanitizer, how much you wear a mask or get vaccinated. None of it matters as long as Republicans are out there doing everything they can to make sure that they make the libs mad and don't get vaccinated, don't wear a mask, cough and sneeze out in the open like they do. They will get you infected. They'll be the ones who get you infected, not other people who are also that are left-leaning, that are following the rules and trying to keep people from getting infected and trying to keep themselves getting infected. They'll get you infected. If you die from COVID, it'll be a Republican's fault.
a chronic fatigue syndrome that is extremely debilitating. And
or actually, I'll say this: if you die of COVID, a Republican killed you.
Kyle, her husband, has become her full-time caretaker. Her mom visits and helps as much as she can, but her condition keeps her limited from seeing any other friends or family right now because it's too exhausting for her. So lately, the way her other friends and I have been staying in touch with her is that we send little updates about our day to her husband, Kyle, and then he reads them for her at night because she hasn't been well enough to read text messages by herself. So yeah, it's bad. And it looks like the road to recovery is going to be way longer than any of us ever expected. And we have all just been scrambling to find ways to...
So the disorder that has cropped up due to long COVID that she's now dealing with is something that people who do not deal with long COVID have dealt with for a very long really long time. It's a chronic fatigue syndrome that basically just destroys you. Just destroys you physically. You can't move, you can't think, you're just stuck in bed. You can't do anything else. And it's relatively rare, but also not taken very seriously by broader society. There's not a lot of research into it, not a lot of not a lot of funding put into researching it or coming up with treatments for it. And so broader society doesn't really know a lot about it. So for a long time, people with CFMS, or I always fuck up the acronym. It's a complicated one. CMFMS? I'm sorry. I fuck it up anyway. Regardless, I was hoping it would pop up in a little preview thing so I could see the... Come on, YouTube. Come on. Why do you suck so much, YouTube? Why do you suck so much? Come on, YouTube, why do you suck so much? Yep, YouTube just sucks too much to tell me where it is. Yeah, Emmy CFS, thank you. Yeah, so basically, it's existed for a very long time, but not taken very seriously. And people who've had it prior to the attention brought to it by a lot of people getting it from long COVID have been seen as just like lazy attention seekers outside of like the medical field. Like, because imagine if you met somebody who said they have an extremely rare condition they can't identify because it's really hard to identify something like this that makes them bedridden all day for weeks at a time. People are just going to say you're a lazy attention seeker, get out of bed and get to work. So it is definitely a silver lining that more attention is being brought to this condition because it sounds like a fucking nightmare. And the idea that somebody would have this like fully bodily debilitating disease, like that looks a lot like something that most people refer to as like depression or just like, oh, you're just depressed. Oh, you're just tired. Oh, you're just lazy. Like that's got to be frustrating.
It's bad. And it looks like the road to recovery is going to be way longer than any of us ever expected. And we have all just been scrambling to find ways to help in this kind of impossible situation. And I know that there are a lot of you who have followed her for a long time and who have been looking for ways to help too. And Diana has
like, to those who've had COVID in chat, think of the like, and if it was like bad COVID, like you were fucked up from COVID like I was, the way that I understand what she's going through right now is like, take the worst night you ever had to go through with COVID, amplify that by like 5 times, and that's what she's going through 24/7 without like consistently now. That's just her life right now. That is actually hell. I don't think you guys like realize how physically just it feels to be in the like heap of COVID and to be where she is now. She is experiencing hell on earth. She is experiencing hell on fucking earth. Can't breathe, can't hear, can't think. Everything hurts. Everything's cold. She probably has a fever, so she actually needs to be doused with cold, but like she's seeking warmth because she has a fever. Like there's no position you can sit in that's comfortable. Your chest and back start to hurt really bad around your lung area. So whenever you breathe, you get this sharp, like deep, like tight feeling. That's just constantly, no matter if you're breathing in or out. The only thing that makes it not hurt is holding your breath. But then if you hold your breath for too long, that starts to hurt. So like breathing hurts. Your stomach hurts, so you can barely keep anything down. She's probably drinking nothing but Pedialyte. Sure looks like it. Getting to the bathroom. Oh my God! Just like when in the worst of it, getting to the bathroom. Like, oh, I'm sitting in a chair with a space heater. I'm like, because I would hug a space heater to me to keep like the warmth. I needed warmth because everything was so tender and sore. So I was hugging a space heater to me, and I'd have to pee, and I'd be like, I gotta make it to the bathroom, shit. So I'd like put the blanket over me because I had to be like wrapped up in blankets, and I'd like huddle my way to the bathroom, and it was like every step I took, it was like a shockwave of pain blasting up my legs and into my body. Like, and I would usually make it like halfway to the bathroom, and I would be huddled over in pain because just trying to walk to the bathroom was that painful. Yeah, and that's what she's going through now. And that was what I had to go through for like a couple nights when I was going through the worst of my COVID infection. This is her life now. There's a reason why she has these headphones on. She might be listening to something, but it's very possible they're noise canceling, and she just needs it to be silent because like you can't handle any stimuli of like people trying to talk to you and try to hold a conversation. It just sets you off, and you're really prone to like getting aggressive too. Like you're just like everyone's on thin ice with you all the time. Like it just sucks.
And Diana has a Patreon page. And I also know that when I went through health problems of my own, Patreon was the only thing that kept me afloat during that time. Levi, who is her editor.
If you want to go send some support over to Physics Girl to help her out while she's like literally unable to work, please go over to her Patreon and send some support, because this is my nightmare, chat. I don't think you guys know this, but like as a YouTuber, one of my biggest nightmares besides just waking up one morning and seeing YouTube ban me for no reason and I have no recourse is like coming down with a serious health condition that fully prevents me from doing content anymore like this. This is literally one of my biggest nightmares as a content creator, because this ends careers if you don't have like a loving, supportive audience there to like offer support when you can't work and provide them content.
And videographer is still posting some stuff on there, including some health updates. And I just want to clarify that this is not something that Diana has asked me to do. Like, I've talked to her friends and family about it.
That's so nice for her to make this
honestly,
video. Like,
I'm excited for a time where
friend.
she's well enough to maybe be upset with me for posting this. I'm just trying to help a friend, and Patreon is something that I know helped me a tremendous amount when I was ill. So if you've been looking for a way to help, I think Patreon is your best option. I know that she really wishes that she could be here, and I know that a lot of you are rooting for her, and we are too, but right now she just has to focus on getting better. She hopefully is going to be treated at a long COVID specialist clinic soon, and they're constantly developing new treatment methods, so we're all staying very hopeful. So yeah, that's the update. Happy physicsing? I think that's it. Okay, bye.
so get boosted, like wear a mask. If like obviously wearing the mask isn't as effective at keeping you from getting COVID, it's more effective at keeping you, if you've gotten COVID, from spreading it. But you know, if you think you might have been infected, or you might have been in contact with someone who's infected, and you might be non-symptomatic but still infectious, which is very possible, wear a mask. You have a responsibility to keep COVID from spreading. You have a responsibility to try to keep yourself from getting infected. But a lot of this is going to take ousting Republicans from power. Fighting against this entire pandemic, being able to stop this pandemic in America and save lives, requires the Republicans being fully ousted from power. And it's going to require serious voter, like, incentivization, like voter motivation. And unfortunately, Democrats are criminally underrepresented when it comes to like voter turnout. So yeah, that's really all I have to say. This is literally a nightmare.